Great, ready to start. I'm going to write it again. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so the difference here with these questions compared to the other ones is obviously the last assignment is looking at cost and management accounting, which is a little bit different to financial accounting because you need to use those different bases in terms of allocating your cost to the various products or departments. Okay, so just to recap, question 1 said you had Appleton. Okay, so Appleton's obviously a business and they've got 2 departments. They've got manufacturing and they've got service. So both departments run obviously as part of the business's operations. Under manufacturing, you've got machining and you've got assembly. So those 2 areas require a certain amount of time and effort and so on in order to manufacture goods. Then you've got 2 other departments. You've got service departments, which is maintenance and power. Okay, those are the 2 that relate to the service departments. Okay, then obviously they've given you information, so they've given you tables here. They've allocated costs according to, maybe use a pencil just to like highlight a few things, or highlighter even, up to you. But just to highlight some things here. Okay, so what do you see here? The total. Okay, what is the total representing? Everything, right? So we've got indirect material, we've got indirect labor, we've got rent and local taxes, we've got supervision, we've got plant depreciation. Okay, these are expenses that are going to be recovered by the different departments. Okay, so we need to allocate those expenses to those departments. So indirect material, indirect labor, they've given you an allocation. See, they've given you the total and they've shown you the allocation. If you add up all those amounts, you're going to get the total. Right, so that's kind of what we spoke about last week, just to revise and cover it again. That's looking at the allocation. So this is their allocation of that total. Okay, remember when you allocate costs to certain departments, you need a basis. Okay, you need to allocate that based on this: employees, area, valuation, hours, machine hours, maintenance, units. Okay, so this is information regarding how the business operates in terms of the different departments. So you can see here the information is not complete, because if you look at maintenance and powerhouse, what is maintenance and powerhouse? They're service departments. Is a service department going to be manufacturing something? No. So that's why over here you don't have direct labor, you don't have machine hours, and you don't have maintenance hours. Okay, there is power used, but power is only used in maintenance, not in the powerhouse. Okay, so see, this is information relating to the different departments. Okay, do you agree all 4 departments have employees? Okay, there's 40 here, there's 80 there, there's 20 there, there's 10 there. In terms of area, all the departments take up a certain amount of space. Okay, so that's how much space they take up. And then the plant valuation. So obviously the plant is the plant. So plant could be PPE, plant, property, all of that. So equipment. Okay, in terms of valuation, this is how much those things are worth. Okay, in terms of machinery, assembly, maintenance, and powerhouse. Okay, so all of those departments have those 3 items. Right, so that's just interpreting the information. Okay, when I read the question, I'm trying to understand what they've given me. Okay, so I know that we've got manufacturing, which is split into machinery and assembly. I know we've got service, which is split into what? Maintenance and powerhouse. They've given me the totals. This needs to be allocated to those departments, because those departments need to absorb a certain amount of those costs. Okay, so now we go to question A. A said, analyze the above indirect costs. That's all they were looking at. A was only focusing on indirect costs between the 4 departments, showing the basis of apportionment you have used. Okay, so they want us to analyze these costs. Okay, indirect material and indirect labor. Okay, according to the 4 different departments. Right, what we've got in the information is their allocation. Okay, obviously their allocation is different to our allocation, and that's why when we looked at this, does the aircon work now? Yeah. Okay, that's good. Okay, perfect. So yeah, if I'm looking at this, which is the allocation, I'm going to have to allocate those totals to those departments based on something. Okay, either based on number of employees, area, and plant valuation. Do you agree I can't use those four because I don't have information relating to all four departments? Okay, so I'm limited to number of employees, area, and plant valuation for those indirect costs. Okay, so indirect material. What would impact on the amount of indirect material that the departments would use? Would it be the employees, the area, or the plant valuation?
For indirect materials? Area.
Okay, so that's what we said. So that was the basis. Okay, remember, that's why I said it's going to be difficult to see how they're going to mark this, because the thing is, you could have used area, maybe plant valuation, but then that's saying if the plant is worth more, it's going to use more material. I don't think that's the best way of doing it. So based on that, I do think that the best way of allocating the cost would be based on area. Okay, if the area is larger, you'd be using more indirect material. Okay, if the area is smaller, you'd be using less. Right, and then indirect labor. Okay, that one, they definitely have to use what? Number of employees. Okay, because do you agree, the number of employees is going to affect the amount of labor costs that you have. Right, if you've got more people working for you, you're going to have more costs that you have to allocate to the departments. Okay, so with that one, there wouldn't be a question mark around that. Okay, that's the only problem with management and cost accounting is it is subjective. And that's why they need to give you more information in the question so that you know for sure how to allocate the costs. Okay, so having said that, what are we going to do? We're going to take the total. What was the total indirect material? 106.4. And what are we going to do? We're going to allocate it to each department based on what? Area. Okay, so if I add up all those amounts, so the reason why I've got these totals here, where are the totals? Here. There's the basis. Okay, so we wrote this down last time. Why? Because we wanted the totals. Did they give you the totals? No, they didn't. No totals given. All they gave was that. 3,000, 5,000, 1,200. When I add up 3,500, 1,200, I get 9,200. That's the total. So this total space that the entire business takes up is 9,200. The total space that the employees, oh, not space, the total number of employees is 150. The total plant valuation is 22,000. Okay, so now if I'm going to be allocating the cost, so here at the bottom, where's my A? Here's my A. Okay, so those are the totals. Are the totals going to change? No, the totals don't change. We're looking at allocating those totals based on what? Area and employees. Right, so if I'm looking at the total, how am I going to allocate the indirect material? Based on area, that's what we said. Okay, so this is the total. How much area or space does the business take up? 9,200. How much space is allocated to the first department, machinery? 3,000. So this total times 3,000 divided by 9,200 gives you that answer.
So should I do it in a table form as well?
Yes.
I don't need to do this one because this one's in here.
Yeah, that was the discussion. So this is what we would say. Okay, we have chosen to allocate indirect material according to area and indirect labor according to employees.
Okay, so I'm going to write that.
That's what we're doing as the basis of the allocation. Right, and then obviously employees here. Employees. Right, so the above was just discussion in terms of interpreting what was in the information. And then obviously we're looking at the allocation now. Right, so the allocation is based on the amount and how much total do you have. It's like a percentage allocation. That's all. The aircon does a much better job in cooling the room down. Wow, it's nice. It's hot, yeah, so Nice to have that. Okay, so that's what we're doing. We're allocating the costs based on the area or the employees. Right, so how did I get those figures for indirect labor? Exactly the same way. Okay. I just took how much employees does that business use, 40, divided by the total, which is 150, times by the costs. And I'm allocating it. Can I look at the past paper salon while you're busy writing that down? Is it in here? Hey?
Yeah.
Let's have a look just to see, because they're splitting it into paper 1 and paper 2. So let's see what these exams actually look like. Oh, wow. Paper 1 is all multiple choice. 30 questions, 30 multiple choice.
Sure.
Paper 2 is written. Okay, so that helps a little bit. Time might be a factor for paper 1 because they only give you an hour, but it's multiple choice, so you can always answer everything. Even if you don't finish, you should still choose an option. Okay, hopefully you do though, just need to practice with more. Okay, so those are all paper 1s, paper 1s, paper 1s. Okay, so paper 2s are written, paper 1s are multiple choice. Okay, that gives some perspective.
Do I have to show the totals there? I can look the comment right now. Can I do the totals at the bottom? Oh no, it's only 2.
Yeah, the totals are across because that's relating to the indirect material. Yeah, so the indirect material totals 1064. The indirect labor totals 2578. Okay, we're taking the material and we're taking the labor and we're allocating it based on either area or the number of employees. Okay, is that one right?
Yeah.
A. Okay, so A was just asking you to do that. They wanted you to analyze the indirect costs between the 4 departments. Okay, so looking at that. So if we had to comment, because this is out of 6, I think maybe we should just add a comment here regarding what they've allocated, because you can see in their table, have a look at their table. How much have they allocated to indirect material? 298. How much have we allocated to indirect material, to machinery? 346. Okay, because we've used the area as the basis of the allocation. So we can just say, as a last point, looking at the given table showing the allocation of indirect costs, comma, that table does not use area / employees / what is the other one? Plant valuation as the basis.
What do you mean that table? Which table do you mean?
This table that's given in the question. Yeah, looking at the given table. So given table, what they gave you. Okay, so that was what we looked at last time, because I was trying to check their allocation, because I wanted to know where did they get these figures from. Okay, because if they allocated it based on employees, area, or plant, we would have gotten those values. Okay, last time I showed you all the allocation. I did all of them. Where was that? That was, yeah, here. Okay, in terms of the machinery. Okay, I just did one column. I did the allocation for the machinery according to employees, and then I get 283. I did it according to area, I got 346. And I did it according to plant valuation, I got 628. Okay, you can see that all three are different. So that means if I take 1064 and I allocate that to machinery based on either the employees, the area, or the plant, I'm going to get that. The employees, area, and plant. That's different to what they gave you, which is 298. See, that's not just commenting here. Okay, so the comment is just looking at that. Okay, so we've chosen to use that allocation. Okay, and I've just made a note because they said analyze. So if I analyze what we've done compared to what they've given you, those amounts are different to what we should allocate based on those bases. Okay, so area, employees, or other. Okay, there are different ways of allocating costs. Okay, we've seen that in the textbook. You get absorption costing, marginal costing. There's a lot of different ways of allocating a cost to a specific department, okay, or product. It could be anything actually. You're just trying to absorb costs so you can price your goods appropriately. Okay. Alright, then B said reapportion the cost of the service departments over the 2 production departments using appropriate basis. Okay, this question was weird because have a look. They said reapportion the service departments over the 2 departments using the basis. So are they asking you to take maintenance and powerhouse and allocate that to the machinery and assembly? They said reapportion the cost of the service departments over the 2 production departments using appropriate basis. That's for 8 marks. That's a lot just to take those costs and put it over assembly and machinery. Okay, to me, they've said reapportion. So reapportion means redo. Okay, basically take a different basis and then reallocate the costs to the service departments. Okay, and to the so I think this should have been not over. Over seems wrong. It should have been reapportion the cost of the service departments and the 2 production departments. Okay, so this I think should have been and. Okay, so basically take those costs, okay, and reallocate those costs according to the powerhouse, the maintenance, assembly, and the machinery. Okay, right, because as it states there, so the question says reapportion the cost of the service departments. So the service departments, which are the 2 service departments? Maintenance and powerhouse. Those are the two. So now the thing is, why would you take those costs for maintenance and powerhouse, and why would you put that for machinery and assembly? That makes no sense. Okay, because machinery and assembly is separate from maintenance and powerhouse. Okay, so I think there could be a problem with that question in terms of what they're asking you to do. It's out of 8 marks. So looking at this question, have a look. Okay, did they give you the total for rent and local taxes? Yes. Did they give you the total for the supervision? Yes. Did they give you the total for the plant depreciation? Yes. Okay, do you agree those costs can be allocated to those 4 departments?
Yeah.
Okay, because all I've got here is the total and I've got blanks here. Okay, so for 8 marks, to me, this says complete the table. Right, so what does the table look like? Well, here's it. Okay, machinery, assembly, maintenance, powerhouse. Okay, so there's the total. This was for the indirect labor and indirect material. Okay, material and labor. Okay, those two we've allocated. That came from, this was from the top. See? There. That's the same as that, right? Okay, so we've allocated this. Basis of allocation, area. Basis of allocation, employee. Right, so now you've got blanks here. In your table in the question, there aren't any amounts here. Okay, rent and local taxes. Is that a cost that should be allocated to those different departments? Yes, because rent and local taxes is what the business pays overall, and then you've got to absorb it into each of the different departments. Okay, do you have the total? Yes. How much is the total? 1426. Okay, what are you going to do with the 1426? That's the total taxes, that's the total rent. Allocate according to machinery, assembly, maintenance, and powerhouse. Okay, I don't have information relating to all of these: direct materials, machine, maintenance, and power used. Okay, so what am I going to do? I'm going to, yes, apportion this where? To those amounts. Okay, so that's what I've done here. Because, as I said, the question's a little bit vague in terms of what we should do. If they want you to take the powerhouse and move that to the machinery and assembly and the maintenance, then you could use these two. Can I use a highlighter?
Yeah.
These two. Maintenance hours and power used. Okay, if they want you to allocate. Okay, that's. Okay, obviously the maintenance uses 600. Right, so if they're asking you to reapportion, so we're going to create 2 answers here because I'm not too sure if they want you to complete this table or if they want you to allocate. I'm going to do both. Right, the allocation one I'll do with you. This is apportioning these costs to those 4 departments based on area. Okay, so why am I using area for rent and taxes?
Because it's rent.
Because it's area, right? So the more space I have, the more cost I'll allocate. Supervision. Who gets supervised? The employees. So I'm allocating the supervision cost, that total, to those departments. Okay. And then base of allocation for the plant depreciation. Obviously, plant depreciation is based on plant value. If the asset is worth more, I'll have more depreciation, right? So that's what I've done. So all I've done is I've just taken that cost. So in order to get the 465, how do I get the 465? Okay, well, what basis am I using? Area. How much am I allocating? 1426. Okay, how much area does the machine take up? 3000. Okay, so on the calculator, type in 1426, which is the total. Okay, that's the total. I'm allocating that to machinery, assembly, maintenance, powerhouse. Okay, so if I'm allocating it according to area, how much area does the machine take up? The machinery take up 3000. So times that by 3000 divided by how much is the total area? 9200. That's how I get the 465. Okay, I'm just taking those costs and allocate. No, you would just show the answers. Okay, but the understanding is important.
So okay.
Yeah, so you would have to complete this table. Okay, if they wanted to reapportion the service departments over the 2 production departments, then we could do this. Okay. Right, so if we need...
This is part of B.
Yeah, if we need to take the service costs and allocate to the machinery and assembly, comma, we could use the maintenance hours and the units of power used. Okay, let's just write that down. Maintenance hours and the power units used. Okay, alright, so that's what I'm doing here in terms of the powerhouse and the maintenance. Okay, so if I'm looking at the allocation, let's show that. I just need those headings. Okay, alright, so in your textbook, maintenance, how much? 132 and 282. Okay, powerhouse, how much? 152 and 672. Okay, if they're saying that we need to take this and that, so in other words, those 2, and we need to allocate that, see, they say reallocate, and then they want us to put this here. Okay, to what? To assembly and machinery. That's what they're saying in the question. Okay, so in the textbook they don't show this, okay, because remember the question here is very specific. They've asked you to do something. The textbook talks about the ways that in which you can allocate costs to different items. Right, so what do they want us to do here? Well, I'm assuming that they want you to reallocate those costs. Okay, so in other words, sum up this and sum up that. Okay, so how much cost does the maintenance and the powerhouse use? 414 here and 84. Okay, and if they're saying reapportion the cost of the service departments over the 2 production departments using the appropriate basis, well then what basis could I use for this? Well, do you agree maintenance will be allocated to machinery and assembly based on, okay, so this is looking at maintenance, so maintenance hours. Right, do you see that? Okay, so that's another way of interpreting the question. So I've done the top part because I think they want you to fill in the blanks, because that's 8 marks, that's a lot. And this could be something that we could show as well, just to allocate the maintenance costs to machinery and assembly. Okay, just as additional, just in case, because I'm not too sure if they're wanting both or if they're just wanting this, or that's the problem. Okay, so I'm giving more, so hopefully we've covered that. Okay, so in terms of maintenance, what am I going to be allocating across? 414. What am I going to use to do it? Machine or maintenance hours. Right, so how much maintenance hours does the machinery use? Let's show the working. Let's show it at the bottom. How much maintenance hours does the machinery use?
Machinery uses
1,800 hours. Divided by, how many is the total hours? 18 plus 600, right? Which is how much? 2,400. Times, how much cost am I allocating? 414. See, there's the allocation. So then you would put that here, equals, there, 3105. Okay, then if I do assembly, that's the question mark. Okay, so the maintenance hours, brackets, maintenance costs. Right, so we're using the maintenance costs to allocate we're using the maintenance hours to allocate the maintenance costs. There's the maintenance costs. Right, so of the 414, we're going to give machinery 3105. Okay, and assembly, same thing, brackets. Right, let's look, how much hours does the assembly use? 600 hours of how much? The total. Times, how much are we allocating? 414, close brackets. Okay, so 600 divided by 2,400 times that gives me that. And if I add up those two amounts, what do I get? I get 414. See? 414. Okay, so it's basically like allocating. It's like this. Let me show you a simple example. Let's say you've got 100 Rand. Okay? And you've got two friends. Friend 1. Friend 2. Okay? Let's say friend 1 is, I don't know, 7 years old. Friend 2 is 10. Okay, friend 2, let's say that's 7 and that's 10. Okay, could you allocate the 100 Rand based on their age?
Yeah.
Yes, you could. So in terms of age, if this guy or girl is 10 and this guy or girl is 7, right, this 100 Rand can be allocated to this person. So 100 Rand times. This person's 10 years old, their combined age is 17. Okay, this person is 7, so 100 Rand times 7 over 17. Okay, you could allocate something different. Let's say you've got 100 Rand and you've got two departments, A and B. Okay, department A, this is 100 Rand. Let's say this is the cost. Let's say machine costs. Okay, so machine costs should be allocated based on machine hours. Do you agree?
Mm.
Okay, so if department A uses 20 machine hours and department B uses 10 machine hours, okay, how are we going to allocate the 100 Rand? Well, how many hours did the machine operate for? 30 hours. Okay, 20 plus 10. Okay, if 20 hours was used by A and 10 hours was used for B, a portion is going to go to A and a portion is going to go to B. That's what you're doing. You're just doing it with a much bigger table. That's all. Okay, so of the 100 Rand in terms of machine costs. So if it costs me 100 Rand to maintain the machine, and the machine can work for 30 hours, how am I going to allocate the 100 Rand? Well, if department A uses 20 hours of the 30 hours, and it costs 100, that's what they're going to get. Okay? If department B uses 10 hours of the 30 hours, they will allocate those costs. You see, that's what you're doing. Okay, so it's a total and the allocation. The total and the allocation. Because how much cost does the company have? 100. A portion will go to A, a portion will go to B. Okay, so 2 over 3 is 66,6 recurring. 33,3 recurring. Right, so if I take this and I add it to that, what do I get? 100. Okay, because that must add up to 100. So this department gets 66 Rand or 66 Rand 60 of the 100, and this department gets 33 Rand 30 of the 100. That's what you're doing. Okay, so if you can understand a simple example, it's exactly the same here. What did I do? I took the maintenance and I allocated it to the machinery and the assembly based on what? The hours. Okay, so let's do that for the powerhouse. Right, so if they're wanting you to allocate the powerhouse cost, so how much did the powerhouse use? The powerhouse used that and that. Okay, so when I added those two amounts together, I got the 824. So what am I going to do? I'm going to allocate the powerhouse cost over to what? To the machinery, the assembly, and the maintenance. Okay, because look at the totals. How much units of power does the maintenance use? 600. How much power does the assembly use? 1,200. How much power does the machine use? 4,200. Exactly. Good. Okay, so let's allocate. Next line. Okay, so power in units. Okay, what are we allocating? We're allocating the powerhouse costs. Alright, so let's allocate the powerhouse costs to the maintenance, assembly, and machine. Okay, so the costs, the 824 times. How much power does the machine use? 4,200 divided by the total. Okay, we need to add those amounts.
4,226.
Yeah, it should be 6,000. Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, so divided by 6,000. Okay, there's the allocation. Right, so in terms of working, it's this times 4,200 divided by 6,000. Okay, there's the allocation. That's how much the machinery is going to get, the department. Okay, then I do the same thing here. 824 times. How much power does the assembly use?
1, 2.
Exactly. Divided by, how much power does the whole business use? 6,000. Okay, we had that earlier. Right, so in terms of working, that would have been the working for the second one. And then the last one, what am I going to do? 824 times. How much power does the maintenance department use? 600. Is that okay? Divided by, how much power does the whole business use? 6,000. See? Okay, so this is representing, right, that allocation. Okay, maybe we should have done the powerhouse first, because the powerhouse has 84, or 82 rather, this amount. Okay, the maintenance has that, right? Maintenance. So then we still need to allocate this to those two departments. That's one more allocation. Okay, this is maintenance. So how much power does the maintenance department use? 82,4 of the 824. Does that make sense? Okay, this department uses that, but they're saying reapportion. So meaning, take that, so the department, the maintenance uses 82 and 40, and then allocate that to the machinery and the assembly. So we're going to apportion that the same as we did before, you're just using 82. So then we need to add 82 here. So 82,4 times this, the machine hours, okay, maintenance hours. So times 1,800 divided by 2,400 equals. Okay, we're allocating that cost. Same thing here. 82, that times. Okay, so assembly. How much maintenance hours does the assembly use? 600 of 2,400 gives me that. Okay, so now we can summarize. Total costs after what do they use? Apportionment. Let's use the same word. Apportionment. Okay, so then all I'm going to do is just add up. So what did the machine have? Okay, we need to put in those values. Let's put those values there. 298, 42. Okay, I'm going to delete the arrow, or let's just move the arrow up. Assembly was how much? Am I reading the right figures? Ooh, wrong way around. Okay, 298 and then 42 this side. Right, then we've got 706 and we've got 918. Alright, so now after we've done the reallocation, how much cost does the machine have? It has this plus that plus the allocation there of the maintenance cost plus the power that they use plus that allocation gives you that. Okay, there's the total. Right, and then for this one, how much does the assembly cost? That plus this plus that plus the power that it uses plus the allocation of the maintenance. Okay, and then maintenance and power, you would have shown 0 here and 0 there. Why? Because I've allocated those costs to the machinery and assembly. Okay, so that's what I think they're asking you to do, because they want you to do it over. So that we can add as well. So I've done a little bit more. I've done what they've said we should do based on what they've indicated there, and I've completed the table here because the table here is blank. Alright, so I've just wanted to add more values there because they've given you the totals. See, the totals are there. This was given in the question. Okay, you can allocate those costs to those departments if possible. Right, so let's
so which table should I write down?
So let's show this table. So we just completed the table. That's all we did.
So
okay.
This one basically.
Yeah. So
should I write the figures in here and then I'll paste it here?
Yeah, that's up to you. That's fine. Doesn't matter. But what I've done is I've allocated those totals to those costs. That's what I've done based on area, employee, or plant value. Okay.
Okay, guys.
Yeah. So the yellow is what I would fill in there. Okay. Obviously based on a specific area, based on area, based on employee, based on plant value.
Okay. So is this answer B and then...
Well, that's part of the submission because we have to work out the allocation of that first. Okay, and then I've done this as just as an additional consideration to satisfy what they've said in the question. Reapportion the cost of the service department. So I've taken service, maintenance, and powerhouse is the service, and I've allocated that to the machine and the assembly to get that. Okay, so my final answer based on the B required would have been that bit there. Okay, so all I've done is I've just taken the cost and I've allocated it to a different department.
These three things.
Yeah, you'd have to allocate the costs. Yeah, so the cost as the costs are there. Okay, as is, you can do it exactly the same as what we've done here.
So the totals, are the totals here at the bottom? Because you put a total column here, but are they at the bottom?
Yes, because we had to add it up.
Yeah, but you put total here. That's what I'm asking.
Oh, well, total's there because that was in the question. They gave you a total there.
But these are the totals here, actually, hey?
Well, these totals would have been those amounts added together. Because remember, you can have totals across and you can have totals down.
But do I have to show this?
We can add it in. It's just what they gave you in the question. So what did they give you in the question? 1064. Okay, that was the table in the question. And 2578. 2578. Yeah, so if I add up all of those amounts across, I get that answer. If I add up all those amounts across, I get that answer. Okay, it's just an allocation of costs based on a specific basis. Okay, the only reason why I added a total is because I was allocating costs from the service department over to another department. That was what I was doing. Okay. Right, I took the powerhouse, I took the maintenance, and I allocated that to the assembly and machinery.
Do I need to put any details here?
If you want, you can write down what the question gave, which is just indirect material, indirect labor. Indirect material, indirect labor. Indirect material and then labor.
So should I just say a total?
Well, that's the allocation. So this 82,4 was allocated to those two departments.
So is that right?
Okay, so you had maintenance hours, brackets maintenance costs.
Yeah, I'm on this
one. Show the working here, just in brackets at the bottom underneath each one.
But I'm talking about this one now.
Yeah.
Are they going to understand it?
Well, we can show an arrow, we can show the allocation, we can write down something to add to it. Let's just add to your answer. So put in the working here and you need to write a note. See, that's what I wrote down. Will be allocated to machinery and assembly based on maintenance hours. Okay, I'll circle this one. The 414 is what I'm allocating. Okay, so this 414 is being allocated to those two departments. That's what I'm doing. Yeah, so the total is what's being allocated. That is being allocated.
This 600, what is that part of?
That's that working. Yeah, I just wrote it down at the bottom because there's not enough space. So that's the working for that, that's the working for that. Okay, this 3105 was calculated using that bracket. This 103 was calculated using that bracket. How did I get both? I was apportioning, I was allocating the 414 to machinery and assembly based on maintenance. That's what I was doing. Okay, so then on the next line, so this line, what did you do on this line? Okay, on this line we allocated the powerhouse. Okay, so you can write that down here. Allocate or apportion, allocate the powerhouse costs to the machinery and assembly. That's what I was doing here. Okay, so what did I do here? I took the 824 and I split the 824 up into two. Okay, 576 went to the machine, 164 went to the assembly. Okay, if you add those two amounts together, you get oh, and that needs to be yellow as well. Okay, so allocate the powerhouse to the machinery, the assembly, and the maintenance. That's what we did. Just add maintenance here, and maintenance in your description. Yeah, and maintenance. Okay, so I took the A24 and I allocated it. Based on what? Powerhouse costs or units. Powerhouse units, that's what we used as the basis. Okay, and then we got those answers. Alright, then do you agree this is sitting in which department? In the maintenance department. Okay, in that department. That 82 Rand 40 needs to be allocated. So what did I do here? Write a description for that. So for this one, we allocated the maintenance costs to the machinery and assembly departments. That's what we did. One of the big issues that I have with the British International Distance College is they don't give you like tutorials in terms of, okay, you go to tutorials, but tutorials are like support classes, but I'm saying like they don't give you a template in terms of what you should follow in order to answer a question. Like they're asking you to use the textbook and they're asking you to use the material in the work program, but they don't give their own layout or format for how they want the answers to look. And that's a problem because we only realize that after we've gotten their answers. It's always been the case. Last year we had the same thing. This year we're having the same thing in terms of you get the answers from them after you've done it, and their format could be a little bit different. Okay, so this format might be different to what they've got in terms of format, but we're allocating it based on what we've got. Okay, so I hope they mark it.
Put headings here for these totals.
Which totals?
How are they going to know what 0 and 0 is?
It's for the machine. All of this is for the machine. It's the same columns.
Oh, so it's under the same.
Yeah, it's all the same columns. Okay, so that's for machine, that's for assembly, that's for maintenance, that's for powerhouse, that's for total.
So total is also 0.
Total would be those added together. So this plus that. You know, and see, if you add up those two amounts, you get the same total. See, 3642. See, that should be the same. Okay, that's actually a good interpretation bit. So just theory-wise. Okay, so have a look at this. How much indirect labor and material did we have in terms of the total? 1064 plus 2578. If you add up those two amounts, what do you get? Have a look. Those two amounts, there's the sum. 3642. 3642. See? Those two amounts are the same as that amount. Okay, this was allocated like they did in the question. See, at the top, that's how they've allocated it. What have we done? We've reallocated those costs of maintenance and powerhouse because they're services to the machine and the assembly. And we got those answers. See?
Yeah.
Right, those answers are exactly the same. See, the costs are the same. You're just allocating it to different departments. That's what you're doing. Okay. Right. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Right, so yeah, that's just a problem that I have with, like, if they want you to do something in a certain way and they want you to do that for the exam, they need to give you that template to you ahead of time, not afterwards. That's the problem. Because now, like, we do something according to the textbook and then we get something that's a little bit different in the answer. See, that's the problem. So, like, the thing is, if they wanted to test it one way, give the way that they want to test it, because then that's how you can approach it. Yeah, because, like, you're asking me, is this the right format to use? I don't even know. Why? Because I don't know what their memo is going to look like. If I did, if they said, this is the format that you must stick to, then I can tell you this is right or wrong. The thing is, I can only comment after we've got it. Okay, but we're allocating everything correctly. So what I'm allocating in terms of the theory is right. Okay, I'm following the textbook. I'm allocating things based on a certain basis. Okay, the only thing is, like, what template do they want you to use? That's the question mark. Okay. Alright, so with C, let's have a look. Calculate the appropriate overhead absorption rate. Okay, so overhead absorption rate. Okay, a rate would be per hour or per unit or per something. Okay, that's just theory. So when you look at a rate, you're looking at allocating, okay, a cost based on a specific rate. Right, so now we need to approach it looking at the 4 departments again. So let's write down those headings again. Okay, machinery, assembly, maintenance, powerhouse, total. Okay, this question is only looking at the overhead absorption rate. Okay, so I need to know what costs are overheads. So let's write down the costs. Indirect material, indirect labor, what else? Rent and local taxes. What else? Supervision. And the last one, plant depreciation. Okay, so what is an overhead?
It's an expense.
It's an expense that's a blanket cost, right? An overhead would be something that the company would have to incur that would be allocated to different areas, okay, different products, different departments. It all depends. Okay, so if I'm looking at this, I've got indirect material and indirect labor. Is that an overhead?
Yeah.
Overhead? No. Indirect labor would be something that you would use that would be, okay, see, the definition can be broad or it can be more specific. So when looking at indirect material, do you agree indirect material they classify as a production cost? Okay, and then overheads, you can get overheads that are production overheads or overheads that are like administrative. Does that make sense? Okay, remember those classifications of costs. Okay, in business you did more of that. So do you agree indirect labor and indirect material, that would have been what? A manufacturing cost. That would have been a manufacturing cost. Rent, taxes, supervision, plant depreciation, that would have been a non-manufacturing cost. Do you agree? Mm-hmm. Okay, because that's not part of manufacturing, it's separate. Alright, so those are the identification of cost in terms of manufacturing and non-manufacturing. Then you've got overheads, and then overheads can be the total overheads for the entire business, or they could be overheads, manufacturing overheads. So you get manufacturing overheads, and you get non-manufacturing overheads. Overheads. Right, so now the big question is, overheads are overheads. Should we look at all of it? I think we should. Okay, we should be looking at the manufacturing overheads as well as non-manufacturing overheads, meaning all overheads. So you're not wrong by saying that this is an overhead. It would be right, but it's a manufacturing overhead. So let's look at all of them as being overheads. Do you agree? Yes? Okay. So all of them will be considered an overhead. Okay, we need to allocate those overheads. They want to know what the absorption rate is for the two production departments. So they want to know what those rates are for the two production departments. Okay, so we're going to be allocating those costs based on those overheads. Okay, we've got that information, it's all here. Right, so indirect material. We need to work out the rates. So we need our totals. So that's going to come from there. There's the totals. Okay, for the machinery, so the indirect labor and indirect. So these two we can actually group. I'm going to group these, delete that. Indirect material and indirect labor. Okay, because we group both and we've got a total for both. So let's keep it simple and put both together, because then we just need to use those answers there. Okay, there's the one amount and there's the other amount. Okay, we had it previously. Right, so there's the total. Right, if you add up those two amounts, you get that answer. And that's correct, because that's those two amounts added together. This plus that gives you the total indirect material and indirect labor. Okay, there's the total for the machine, there's the total for the assembly, based on the absorption, based on the allocation. Right, rent and local taxes, how much is it? Rent and local taxes, they're allocating it. Yeah, but we've got machinery and assembly. So if we look at the total, let's write down the total then. What are the totals? 1426. Okay, supervision, how much? 660. Plant depreciation, how much? 1650. Okay, so what do we have here? We've got the totals for all of those overheads. They want us to absorb those overheads just for the machinery and the assembly. Okay, so what would the best way be to allocate the rent and local taxes to the machinery and assembly. What should we use? Should we use direct material hours, machine hours, maintenance hours, or units of power, or area, or
maybe plant valuation
for rent and local taxes?
Area.
Okay, yes, area. So then this one, area as the basis. Okay, so that cost will be allocated to that. We had it earlier. Okay, so we had the 465. That's what I'm going to put there. 465. Okay, and then we had this. There you wrote it down. 775. Right. What did we say was the best way to allocate supervision costs?
Number of employees.
Exactly. Okay, employees. Okay, we did the working earlier. You've got the table. Don't have to do it again. It's above. 176, 352. Okay, let's just check if those amounts are right. Yeah, 176, 352. Right, and then the overheads, plant depreciation, there's it. Okay, what did we say was the best way to allocate this? Plant value. That's what we said. Right, so what's the total? Let's check. Okay, so there's the totals. Right, so now we need to look at an absorption rate. So if I'm looking at machinery, what would I be using as the basis for allocating machinery? The machine hours, do you agree?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Right, so the basis of allocating the machinery costs is machine hours. Right, so how many hours does the machine run for? 11080, right? Okay, so therefore this divided by 11080 gives you the rate. Okay, so 0.32 per machine hour. Right, let's show that working. 3569,1 divided by 11080. Okay, then assembly. Assembly, what determines the assembly's rate in terms of absorption? What are you going to do in assembly? You're going to be using the machines to assemble. Same story. Okay, same cost divided by, what is the hours? 2320. Okay, 1.37. So that was 3190,9 divided by, how much hours does that department run for in terms of machine hours? 2320. Okay, so in terms of the rate, those would be the rates. Those would be the rates that I would use to absorb those costs. Okay, so there's the basis, the rates. These are the rates. Right, and that's 4.
Do we not have to do maintenance and powerhouse?
No, they only said calculate the appropriate overhead absorption rate for the 2 production departments. Production was machinery and assembly. That was production, this was service. And that was service.
So is that C complete?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, so all the overheads need to be absorbed, and they're going to be absorbed based on the number of machine hours, because machinery will be operating for a certain amount of time, and so will the assembly. Do you write paper 1 or paper 2 first for accounting?
I'm not too sure. It's in my diary.
Okay, all of those are rates. It's per hour, per hour, per hour. Okay, so it's that per hour, that per hour.